Obviously, don't need to say how big of a game tomorrow is in Madison. It's a rivalry game. You guys can secure a pretty good seed for the tournament. Is getting a 2 seed and really set yourself up for a good run in the Big Ten tournament a big deal to you, or do you know you're already in the NCAA tournament? Is this more of a tune-up almost?
Well, I think it's all big now. When you're playing in March, every game is extremely important, and what's in front of us obviously is Wisconsin and then a Big Ten tournament, and that's a chance to win a championship. And obviously if you put yourself in a position to get a better seed, it's not that it's going to be easy, because in this conference it's so balanced, it doesn't necessarily matter what seed you are. But you want to put yourself in a position to play on Friday, and we have that opportunity in front of us, and we know it'll be challenging. So more than anything, it's just locking in on little details and sticking to what's gotten us here. It's gotten us on an 8-game winning streak, and not really locking in anything else. And I've said it a bunch to our guys. I've been lucky to be around great teams my whole life. As an assistant coach, I went to 3 Elite Eights and a Final Four, won many conference tournament titles. And you just got to enjoy the journey, because when it's over, everybody moves on and they move on to something else. So don't look ahead. Just enjoy the fact of where you're at right now. It's been a big message to our team.
You got a chance to have 5 guys finish in double figures, scoring for the first time in 51 years. It's one thing to be unselfish, it's another thing to say, here's how we're going to get there. How have you done that?
Recruit unselfish people. I think the more and more I do this, it all starts at identifying the type of players and people that you're bringing in. And they appreciate where we're at. They appreciate the fact that we're winning games. They appreciate the fact that we're playing for a good seed in the NCAA tournament. A lot of things that we've done this year haven't been done in a long time here. So, if you look back at where we were last year, as tough as it was good for everybody, because now we can really embrace, we just want to win. This team just wants to win. They don't care about any of that other stuff. And you could see it from everybody on the team. I think that's why everybody really likes this team.
The flip side of that is always, if you don't have one go-to guy, you don't have a go-to guy. Is there any disadvantage to not having a singular guy like that?
No, I look at it as, great balance is a positive. And every game is different depending on matchups. And, okay, the best defender's on this guy, well, let's do something with another guy. But, for me, I've always believed when you have a good team, you've got to have a lot of options, and we've got that.
How much, in your view, how much of coaching is schemes and sets and drawn-up plays, and how much of it is just understanding your players and what makes your team tick and being able to sort of push in certain directions?
A lot less about X's and O's, I think, than people would think. People see us for 2 hours on TV, and they obsess over the clipboard and what play you're going to draw up, and very important, and you got to be on your game there. But it's much more about mentally having a pulse on every single player. If somebody's down, making sure you address that with them, get them confident, get them believing again. And the other guys who are confident, they're going to be more willing to get other players going because they're feeling good about themselves, preparing them for the moments. Because we don't have as much control as people think when the game starts. But we've got control in practice every day to prepare them to be ready for that moment. So much of coaching is what happens when the cameras aren't on.
Is it an acquired skill as a coach to learn how to push the right buttons? Is it something that you develop over time?
I think it's just a relationship thing. And when you recruit everybody on your roster, it's a little bit easier. And it's not that when I was here the first couple of years that they weren't my players. They're all my players. But when you recruit players, and we're recruiting guys for sometimes 3-4 years, and their families, there's a level of buy-in that you're going to have because they've entrusted in you. Because something's going to go wrong. It's going to happen. And now, are they able to believe in you? Because if you don't know the person, or if you don't have a relationship with the person and things go wrong, it's very, very easy for people to turn away. Parents ask me all the time, how can you make my son better? It's not a certain drill. It's trust. Do they trust you that you're going to be committed to make them better? And hopefully we have a roster full of players and families that believe that, and I think we do.
Obviously, you've talked all season about last season. But just the swing from as bad as things were on and off the court last year to go from as good as things are on and off the court this year, what did you learn from the last 15 months about yourself?
Learned a lot. You can't take things personal. Last year taught me that. You know, when people write things, when people say things, don't take it personal. Just because everywhere in the country, if you win 8 games, you're going to get criticized. So nobody's immune to that. You know, understand who's there for you when it really matters. It's normally your family. It's normally your team, your staff, those guys. You know, so as big of a shift as it's been, it taught all of us a lot, you know, because last year at the end of the season there when we had to suspend some guys and you know, Joey gets hurt and we had a couple scholarship players for the last couple games, and then going into the off season, we didn't have a lot of allies, and that's normal. I'm not saying I have a problem with that. That's normal. So all we had was each other, and there was nothing we could do to get people to believe until the season started. So my biggest thing was I have to get my team to believe. And if there's one thing I'm proud of more than winning however many games we won or winning streaks, is that we kept that locker room intact when there was so much swirling around. You know, we signed 2 local recruits. They're hearing it every day in the hallway. You know, so that was, you know, you got to keep those guys believing. You got to keep the guys from last year believe. A lot of kids would transfer after that year. A lot of them would. You know, so if there's something I'm most proud of, it's that the returners believed in what we were doing. They took all the criticism and all that with great humility, and they didn't let it deter them, because it's tough for college kids. They want to walk around campus, you know, with their Minnesota sweatshirt and their hat on and being proud. And we just didn't have that. And so to get them to believe it's going to turn, just be patient, that's not very easy. So I'm proud of the job that we did there.
Hearing you say that, this might be a weird follow-up question, but do you think this year would have been as good if last year had not been as bad?
Well, you know, we are a different team. We brought in 5 new players. So as kind of remarkable as this has been, 3 kids on the starting lineup were not here last year. So that's a credit to those 3 guys to get adjusted right away. You know, Amir Coffey's playing major minutes. He's only a freshman. Keem Springs was at Milwaukee. Reggie Lynch was sitting out. He was at Illinois State. But I will say last year, it made Dupree, Nate, Murph, Bakari, it made those guys so much better because we were very young, and sometimes people forget that. But the best thing for those guys was to play through some of those mistakes, because now they're ready to perform in that moment because of what they went through last year.
Do you think it changed you at all, as a coach, as a person?
Yeah, I think it did. You know, you learn a lot about yourself when you're under attack. And it's okay. I don't take it personal. That's part of the deal. But, you know, when you're hearing and reading and people want you fired, and that's tough. That's a tough pill to swallow. But then, you know, you just sit back and you're lucky that you have a great family who's very, very supportive. You know, and you go home and you got 3 kids under the age of 5. They don't care if you won or lost. And, you know, it brings you closer to your players. It really does, because you got to be there for them, and you can't be about me. It's got to be about those guys. And so it changed me. I definitely thought it made me better, made me a better coach. You know, losing, you learn a lot more through losing than you do winning. You know, so it's been, you know, you've heard the expression, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, and I think last year did that for all of us.